Today, Wednesday, December 5th, Dr. Joseph Roy, the Bethlehem Area School District, along with the Pennsylvania League of Urban Schools, other local superintendents, and the mayors of Allentown and Bethlehem met at Northeast Middle School to bring to light charter school and school funding reform.
So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to this event, press event, to put a spotlight on the need for charter legislation reform, both charter, brick and mortar, and cyber charter. So now I'd like to recognize and invite to the podium Dr. Karen Beck-Cooley, Bethlehem School Board member, who will share some facts and figures.
Thank you so much. My name, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Karen Beck-Cooley. I'm a member of Bethlehem Area School District School Board. So first, the cost of charter schools. Pennsylvania taxpayers are now spending close to $2 billion each year on charter schools. Our school district alone will spend nearly $31 million on charters this year, and that's 4 times what we did just 10 years ago. Lehigh Valley taxpayers as a whole spend about $1 million, about $100 million. How do we know? Well, BASD actually runs our own cyber charter program, and each of our cyber charter students who have access to BASD principals, guidance staff, extracurricular activities, which is all above and beyond what a cyber charter student would receive. All of that still means that student costs us about 60% of what it costs to educate a child who's in one of our buildings. And an improved charter school law would pass those savings on to taxpayers. Just as horrifying, the dollars sent to charter schools to educate special education students are similarly disconnected from reality. They're based on district's average costs and not reflective of what it's actually costing to provide those services to charter school special needs students. Where does the extra money go? Who knows? But tighter legislation can help us, help districts, help taxpayers find out. And revisions to the law could also give districts and taxpayers more say over charter schools' costs. Currently, the only type of oversight a school district and local school board has over charter schools is a review that happens once every 5 years. We take those reviews seriously. Should we have concerns as a result of those reviews, our only real recourse is to propose adjustments and amendments to the charters, to the school's charter, or to rescind that charter entirely. Charters can appeal our decision, though, directly to the Commonwealth's Charter Appeals Board, or CAB, and that board is heavily slanted in charter's favor. Currently, none of its members are directly affiliated with or bring the perspective of traditional public schools to any of those deliberations, and that's a big reason why the district's requests are typically, if not uniformly, denied.
If that same cohort of students had instead attended a cyber charter school last year, the school district and taxpayers would have had to pay $1 million for regular education students, or $12,099 per student, and an additional $312,000 for special education students, or $25,760 per student. In total, the district would have paid $1,359,900, which represents a cost differential of $979,000. Thank you.
There's so much work to be done in regard to education. And what we need to do is just prevent those business people from draining our public system. That is exactly what they're doing. School boards have no oversight. All they do is take care of the local business. What bothers me particularly is teachers don't need to be certified. The numbers that do are minimal. Special ed students are over-identified, and we pay more for them. The imbalance of tuition, as you just heard from cyber education, is costly.
I'd like to now welcome Senator Boscola. We know that our state representative support is important, and I know that our work with Senator Boscola, that you look for the reasonable solution, and that's what we're focusing on today around practical charter solutions.
Great.
Senator Boscola,
Thank you. It's clear to me now, after all these years, that you can't afford not to do this anymore. I mean, it's gotten so bad. Whether you're talking cyber schools, charter schools, whether you're talking the fair funding formula, and I don't even get into that, whether you're talking about how we pay for schools, and how some school districts get 80% of their money from the state and others only get 20%. And then you wonder why school taxes, especially property taxes, are so high. Now is the time to really organize ourselves and get political.
We in Bethlehem, actually 16 out of the 17 school districts in the Lehigh Valley are falling behind because we're not implementing the fair funding formula that we adopted 3 years ago. So the way it's happened, we passed a new fair funding formula, and rather than have it apply to all of the education funding, it only applies to the new funding each year. So since about 2016, we've been implementing the fair funding formula on new funding only. So now we're up to about 11%. So 11% of the funding from Harrisburg is distributed under the fair funding formula, and the other 89% is distributed the previous way. It'll take us a long time to get to full fair funding if we keep going on that path. So there are legislative efforts. I know in the Senate, Senator Ruscola, she didn't say this, but she is the prime sponsor of a bill to implement the fair funding formula over a 4-year period, and we appreciate your efforts.
As a former educator, Mayor Natchez fully backs equitable funding and encourages a call to action in Harrisburg on cyber and charter reform. We need to reevaluate the way cyber charter schools are being funded in order to preserve the much-needed funding for urban school districts like the Bethlehem Area School District. In addition, we need to hold cyber charter schools more accountable, and the first step can be through funding reform. Thank you.
So reform is reasonable, it's doable practically. Most importantly, it's a fairness issue for the children of our community.
So I thank you again for coming out today. If there are questions from the media, we can take some questions now, not that I'm going to answer them all. In fact, Mr. Vibrato has agreed to answer all questions.